Welcome to Half 2-4. Today in the episode, a fairy tale that fans have been waiting for 22 years. Mikel Arteta repeats the epic triumph of Arsene Wenger, while Odegaard drinks the tears of City fans on cameras. The school of Pep Guardiola has taken over Europe. But who will sort out the closed Pandora's box at the Etihad with 115 charges? Also today, Ruben Amorim returns to replace Jose Mourinho, and the transfer paradox of Diego Simeone. Why Atletico is ready to overpay 3 times for Marc Cucurella. We are talking about all this and much more right now. Bournemouth, a small, humble club from the south coast of England, played to a 1-1 draw against Manchester City, and with this, they gifted London Arsenal their first championship title in 22 long, painful years. 22 years of waiting, friends. On the streets of North London, absolute madness reigns right now, and the team captain Martin Odegaard is already holding that very iconic bottle with the Gunners logo hard, defiantly, and with the taste of pure Premier League gold. For those not in the loop, this is a brilliant and harsh trolling in response to the super viral meme when City fan Tal Raymond theatrically drank Arsenal tears from an identical bottle at the stadium, mocking them with the label of bottlers. But he laughs best who laughs last, and with the taste of pure Premier League gold. Mikel Arteta becomes the first coach of the club who brought back the gold after the legendary era of the Invincibles of Arsene Wenger of the season 2003-2004. Critics had been whining for years about boring set pieces and time wasting, but Arteta's system conceded the least in the league, only 26 goals, and David Raya takes the Golden Glove for the 3rd consecutive time. 25 victories in 37 matches. This is not luck. This is a perfect boardroom calculation. And now hold the juiciest quotes, because a real psychological war has erupted behind the scenes. Pep Guardiola politely came out to the press after the match. On behalf of the whole Manchester City, I congratulate Arsenal, Mikel, his staff, players, and fans on this title. They deserved it. Beautiful? Yes. But when journalists directly ask Pep, what do you feel personally, since Arteta is your former assistant and student, the Catalan genius instantly dodged the topic. That is a question for him. I am sure it will be special for him. And that is all. Not a single, I am proud of him, not a single word about the teacher and the student. Complete, cold silence. Especially symbolic, since Pep is leaving the club this summer after 10 years of hegemony, giving way to Enzo Maresca. We told you about this in detail in the previous episode. If you haven't seen it, be sure to watch it. Arteta won the championship not just from the main competitor. He took the crown from the man who raised him in his last season on the Albion. Erling Haaland addressed the captain of the Londoners after the game. Arsenal, when you collect the most points, you deserve to win the league. Congratulations, Martin Odegaard. Sounds sweet and in a Norse-restrained way. But we remember perfectly how last year, after the head-to-head match, it was Haaland who ran up to Arteta and defiantly threw in his face, "Stay humble," meaning stay humble and know your place. Now, Arteta is the champion of England, and the fears of the formidable cyborg are forced to politely congratulate his captain. I think Mikel Finn smiled at this moment. Remember April, when after the unfortunate slip-up of the Gunners, the internet happily read the last rites to their chances. Then Declan Rice approached his partners and quietly said on camera, "It's not over." Then he was showered with millions of mocking memes. And lo, as soon as the final whistle blew in the City match, Rice publishes a victorious photo of the team on social networks with the caption, "I told you all, the job is done." Colder than Arctic ice. The great Arsene Wenger himself did not hold back his emotions, sending the Londoners a touching message from the past. You did it. Champions move on when others stop. This is your time. Enjoy every moment. This is said by a man who himself waited 22 years for this moment and never got to see it while on the managerial bridge. My opinion? Finishing second 3 times, enduring insane pressure and constant bottlers' labels, only to pull off such a grand triumph in the end. This is not just a championship. This is an epic, sweet, personal revenge of an entire club. The student has definitively defeated his teacher and silenced absolutely all the skeptics. But it is too early to relax. Ahead on May 30th in Budapest, the Champions League final against the billion-dollar PSG awaits us. And if Arteta takes the big-eared trophy as well, this season will become a legend that will be retold in North London for the next 22 years. And what do you think, friends? Will Arsenal be able to secure the golden double, or will PSG ruin their fairy tale? While the era of Pep Guardiola at Manchester City officially nears its end, the whole world admires his greatness and unique legacy. And indeed, the influence of the Catalan on the next generation of coaches is simply amazing. His former students, assistants, and players have now literally seized power in European football. Mikel Arteta has just led Arsenal to the long-awaited championship. Vincent Kompany leads Munich Bayern at the top of the Bundesliga. Xabi Alonso is preparing to take over London Chelsea. And Enzo Maresca officially becomes the successor to Pep himself in Manchester. The student has already defeated the teacher on the football field, and another student sits in his chair. But behind all this beautiful, almost Hollywood triumph hides a very dirty boardroom secret, about which the Premier League bosses are now bashfully trying to keep silent. Let's take off the rose-colored glasses and look at the real facts. While the media celebrate Guardiola's greatness and fans discuss Maresca's contract, the football world has suddenly fallen into a collective amnesia. Everyone, as if by magic, forgot about the main powder keg on which all this success stands. Let me remind you, back in February 2023, Manchester City was officially charged with 115 gross breaches of Premier League financial rules. And what is the situation as of today? Nothing at all. The year 2024 passed. 2025 ended. The calendar already shows May 2026, and there is still no official verdict. More than 3 years of absolute silence, bureaucratic red tape, and backroom whispering. Not a single decision, not a single clear punishment or acquittal. This looks like a complete absurdity and raises a bunch of questions for the league management. That is, when it is necessary to deduct points from small clubs for minimal financial transgressions, courtroom officials act instantly. But when it comes to 115 heavy charges against a multi-million-dollar hegemon, the investigation turns into an eternity. Pep leaves, leaving behind a magnificent legacy of trophies and educated coaches. But at the same time, he leaves Enzo Maresca a closed Pandora's box that will sooner or later explode right in the face of the club. My opinion? This paradox best describes modern football. On one hand, Guardiola is an undisputed genius who created an entire school of managers, and the successes of Arteta or company only prove it. On the other hand, a fat question mark will forever remain over all these cups and titles until the league deals with these 115 points. It is very convenient to leave at the peak when your system has conquered everything, and the young team of Maresca will have to sort out the legal chaos. Honestly speaking, it is even interesting whether there will ever be any decision regarding these financial machinations, or will the case be definitively hushed up behind the scenes. Ruben Amorim returns, and from this news, fans of Manchester United shudder as they still see his failures in their nightmares. However, in Portugal, this comeback is viewed as the main sensation of the upcoming summer. He is going to Benfica, to the very club where Ruben ended his career as a football player, where he has been expected for a long time, and where right now there is a vacancy. Because Jose Mourinho is just packing his bags for Madrid. Let's first talk about Mourinho, because without this, the rest makes no sense. The special one left Benfica after a 2-hour meeting with President Rui Costa. Journalists stood outside the training ground and filmed him getting into his car and driving away silently, not a word to the press. A classic of the genre. Let's be honest. Real Madrid paid Benfica €3 million. That was exactly how much the release clause in Mourinho's contract cost. Now the special one is officially free and returns to the Bernabeu after 13 years. But that is a different story. And now ours. According to Portuguese journalists, Negotiations between Benfica and Amorim are already underway, and President Rui Costa has personally designated him as the main candidate for the post. And here is a detail that cannot be ignored. Amorim played 154 matches for Benfica as a player, 6 goals, and ended his career right there in the year 2017. That is, this is not just the next coaching contract, this is a homecoming. At the same time, Marco Silva is also on the short list. Benfica is ready to offer him a 2-year contract, and Silva himself, according to Ebola, dreams of returning to his homeland and is even ready to go for a significant salary reduction from 7.5 million euros a year to approximately half. The man wants to go home. But Amorim is closer to the president. Here is the transfer irony of the summer for you. Amorim left Manchester United with a scandal, with defeats, with internal conflicts, and found himself on the street in January. And now Benfica is knocking on his door, the club where he grew up, where he is respected, where the president personally lobbies for his candidacy. Munich United, a failure. Lisbon, Benfica, possibly a reboot. And if this happens, we will have the most interesting Clásico of Portuguese football next season. Amorim against Amorim's former club Sporting. I am already waiting. Jose Mourinho hasn't even moved his things to Madrid yet, and he is already starting to dictate his conditions. The Portuguese demands 2 specific transfers, the return of a legend to his staff, and a player from the Portuguese Championship on whom absolutely nobody placed a bet. Welcome to the transfer backrooms of Real, where it is getting more and more interesting. So, according to information from the authoritative publication Cope, Mourinho personally asked the management of Real to sign Sporting midfielder Morten Hjulmand. Jose sees in him exactly that piece, in the center of the field that Madrid catastrophically lacked all this unsuccessful season without a single trophy. Who is Hjulmand? The Dane is 26 years old. He is the captain of the Lisbon side, has played 27 matches for the Denmark national team, reads the game brilliantly, and controls the tempo. That is a classic Sixer. Sporting wants around 50 million euros for their leader, and his contract runs until the year 2028. Not cheap, but logical, considering that Jose knows the Portuguese market perfectly. Jose's second request is even more interesting. He wants to see a former Real player in his staff who will become a bridge between the club management and the dressing room. And the main candidate here is Toni Kroos. That is, a man who retired in the year 2024 might return to the Santiago Bernabeu as an assistant. By the way, we reported on this even earlier. Well, and where would we be without the main soap opera of the summer, Rodri? The Spaniard hinted to journalists back in the spring that he misses home, and now, when Pep Guardiola leaves Manchester City in the summer, the doors for a transfer have opened as wide as possible. The authoritative Marca confirms Rodri is the #1 priority for Real Madrid, and the Ballon d'Or winner himself is eager to wear the white shirt. True, it won't be a simple walk. He has a contract until the year 2027, and the new sporting director of City, Hugo Viana, is doing his best to extend the deal with him and even offers the captain's armband after the departure of Bernardo Silva. Guardiola once said that he wouldn't hold anyone by force, but the management of the citizens won't give up their main engine so easily. So we have a classic story. Madrid wants, the player is open, and Mourinho hints from the side, buy me Hjulmand, and as for Rodri, negotiate with Perez. This is the classic style of Jose. The ink on the papers hasn't even dried yet, and he is already assembling a team for himself. Hjulmand is a super smart move. He is definitely cheaper and more accessible than the Spaniard. Kroos on the bench is at least beautiful and authoritative for the dressing room, and the battle for Rodri is the main thriller of the summer. Sucking him out of the spine of City against the backdrop of Pep's departure is like taking the engine out of a supercar. Manchester risks floating seriously after this. But the English will fight to the last. So this red tape can easily drag on until autumn itself. And what do you think, friends? Will Real be able to pull Rodri out of Manchester, or will he be locked in a golden cage at the Etihad? 5 years ago, Atletico refused to pay 25 million euros for Cucarella. They decided too expensive. Now Simeone wants him for 55 million euros from Chelsea. With a contract until 2028, welcome to the favorite Spanish genre. Could have taken it cheap, now paying triple. Let's start from the beginning. Back in 2021, Atletico had a real chance to sign Cucarella. He was playing for Getafe then and had a brilliant season. But the chief executive officer of the club, Miguel Angel Gil, refused to pay 25 million euros of the release clause, and Cucarella left for Brighton, then Chelsea for 65 million euros, and here he is, one of the best left-backs in Europe. The sporting director of Atletico, Mateu Alemany, designated Cucarella as the #1 priority in defense for this summer. According to Marca and Diario AS, he should become the main investment of the club in defense. But here is where the real difficulty begins. Atletico is ready to pay 45 million euros plus 10 million euros in bonuses. Instead, Chelsea wants all 55 million euros at once without installments and bonuses. And that's not all. In March, Chelsea quietly raised Cucarella's salary without an official announcement. They simply increased the rate without adding years to the contract. That is, the club made it clear, we want you to stay, just without the noise. Chelsea had already given an answer to Barca earlier this season when they were interested in the player, not for sale. Cucarella is untouchable. And what about the player himself? Cucarella publicly said that he is open to returning to Spain. And this is exactly what Atletico is betting on, that the player's desire will play in their favor in the negotiations. But there is a nuance. The player's desire is not a guarantee of a transfer, especially when the club raises your salary without any requests. Atletico wants a player whom they themselves let go 5 years ago for pennies. Now he costs 55 million euros, earns £175,000 a week, and is a starting player for an EPL top club. Simeone will push, he always pushes, but Chelsea is not obliged to sell. And if they have already raised the player's salary on the quiet, this is a signal, we are serious. The only chance for Atletico is if Cucarella himself knocks on the door and says, I want to go home. Until this happens, this is more of a dream for Simeone than a real transfer.
En consecuencia de los futbolistas que tengo